In the last video, I walked through the benefits of a donor-advised fund, what they are, and how you can use them to maximize your charitable giving. In this video, I wanted to take it a step further by walking you through a demo of Charityvest, which is the donor-advised fund provider that I use and that I also use with clients to streamline their charitable giving. So I'm going to remind you what one of these is. If you don't know anything about a donor-advised fund, go back and watch that last video. But quick reminder of what they are. Then I'm going to show you just in a few minutes how you could use a donor advised fund. And we'll finish with some practical next steps for you to continue with momentum on your journey towards generosity. So let's start first with this reminder of how a donor advised fund works. From the last video, you saw that in traditional giving, somebody takes money and they give it, typically cash gifts, to various institutions. For Sarah, it was a hospital, her church, and her alma mater. In donor advised fund giving, we just add one extra step. The grantor makes a contribution to a special account called a donor advised fund. That account is managed by a 501c3 charity. So they make this irrevocable gift to that charity. That charity then manages the funds on behalf of the donor and then distributes them to other charities. And we talked about 5 benefits of using a donor advised fund. They're very easy to administer, as I'll show you in a moment. You can make non-cash gifts like stock or mutual funds, cryptocurrency, or even more complex assets like real estate. The timing of your giving is flexible. So if you're up against a deadline, you need to make a big gift in 1 year, you can make it to your donor advised fund and then extend that giving to other charities over time. You can also grow your charitable contributions by giving to the donor advised fund, investing them, and then sending the proceeds, the contributions plus the growth, to charities. And finally, if you're seeking anonymity, a donor advised fund can be helpful in that regard as well. Now, there are a lot of great donor advised fund providers out there, and I don't want to try to steer you away from any one of them, but I think it can sometimes be really helpful to just see practically what one looks like. And I love Charityvest. I got connected with their founder, Steven. I loved his vision for taking donor advised funds, which historically have not been very easy to use, and making them streamlined, elegant, inexpensive, and easy to use, because his belief, like mine, is that everyone could benefit from a donor advised fund, not just the ultra wealthy. And so let's dive into a quick demo. I'm going to walk you through how Charityvest works, and you can see for yourself if this is something you might want to add as another account in your financial plan. If you want to check out Charityvest, head over to charityvest.org, and here you can learn about how you could get started with a donor advised fund, how their specific accounts work, what it costs, and other important details and resources on charitable giving. I wanted to just show you behind the scenes of what it would look like if you've opened an account. And so I have a demo environment here where I'm going to walk you through a demo in just a few minutes of what these accounts are like. And the first thing I want you to hear is they're very simple, and it's designed to be simple. There's really 2 main things you do with a donor advised fund. You can contribute to the fund, and you get a deduction when you make that contribution. And then they're designed so that you then grant that money out to charity. Now, there's a number of other features that I love about Charityvest that I'll point out, but at the basic level, that's what we're doing. We're making contributions, we're giving that money to charity. Now, in here, you can see I've got a financial advisor. That's me, who's helping me to actually direct and execute these gifts. I love this giving goal, where I can make a specific goal of how much I want to contribute to charity in any given year and how much I want to grant to specific charities. And I like the idea of having this very specific intention that I've set of how much I'm going to give, how much I'm going to grant, and my purpose of blessing others as we've been blessed to increase our impact as strategic and intentional givers. You can see here I've got some recurring contributions and recurring grants. So $350 a month goes in, and then I've got $100 a month going out. And as a result, I've built up a little bit of a balance here within Charityvest. Let's talk first about contributions. So contributing is easy. You can do that through a debit card, through a credit card, through a bank account. And this is a lot like your normal giving, right? If you're giving to an institution, you might connect your bank account and be able to do those recurring gifts like you would pay any other bill. But this is going to make sure you follow through. What I love about donor advised funds is I can do that, but I can also give in some more sophisticated ways, doing things like gifting appreciated stock and generating a tax deduction for doing that, like I covered in the last video, or donating cryptocurrency, where I can choose whichever coin I want to give, it'll generate a unique address, and then I send the crypto there, it gets converted to cash, and then it can be sent to charity. And so again, this doesn't just make it easy for you, it also makes it easy for the charity, because what the charity receives is not cryptocurrency or stock or a complex asset like a home. What they receive is cash in the form of a check or an ACH payment, which makes it easier for everyone. Once I've given, then you can see there's a lot of activity happening in the account. It's automated like so many other parts of our finances. When I'm ready to grant to charity, I just come here and you can see I've favorited a handful of charities: the Red Cross, my church, Hope Services, and these might be 5 charities that I'm already giving to. What's nice is if I'm doing gifting every year, all I need to do is search for that charity via the EIN or the name of the charity. I can select the state or the category, and then I can favorite it and I can make grants to it on a recurring basis. If I want to make a gift, you can see I just come here. American Red Cross accepts electronic transfer through PayPal grants. You can see the gifts that I've made historically, and I can learn more about any of these charities on Charity Navigator right here. Now, by way of reminder, because I'm doing all of my giving to the Charityvest donor advised fund, and then from Charityvest to these charities, I just have one tax receipt that I need to keep track of. No matter how many gifts I make throughout the year, all I really need to look at is what did I contribute to the fund? That's going to be my tax deduction. And then I've got time and space to strategically and thoughtfully give from the fund to various charities. The final thing I'll mention here is that once this money's in here, let's say that I wasn't going to give this year, I can invest it. So I can invest it aggressively for growth, or even somewhat conservatively just to earn some interest until my money is ready to go to charity. So I hope you'll check this out. It doesn't need to be a Charityvest. It can be somewhere else. And as we close the video, I just want to walk through a few final steps for you to think about in your generosity. So as we close, I want to come back to the why of giving, right? We should focus on giving as part of our financial plan because causes need our support. We're rich, blessed, and able to help. Research backs up the benefits, and it's fun to give. When we give strategically through tools like a donor advised fund, it maximizes the impact. And when we plan our giving, it unlocks additional benefits. What I've found often in the process of developing and delivering a financial plan is every once in a while I get to emotion with a client. I ask them, hey, what's really important for you to do with money? And they start talking, and oftentimes as I start talking about the why behind their money, they start to tear up. And whenever we can get to that emotion, I realize, wow, this is what you want your life to be about. This is what you truly value beyond all the veneer of all the other distractions we can have. A lot of people, when it comes down to it, they want to create something meaningful, and they want to be in a position to love and bless others with what they've created. I think giving is one of the ways we execute that, and that's why I'm passionate about sharing about how you can do that for others. And so if you've felt some emotion, if you've thought, man, this sounds great, I want to get started, here are a few things to think about for what's next. The first one I would recommend is create a giving plan, and it doesn't need to be super detailed, but it should at least be this detailed. You should think about what causes or types of causes you want to support and pick specific organizations that you'd like to support. Then think through how much do you plan to give annually and keep track, give progress on those gifts. And finally, think through how can I execute those gifts strategically and consistently. So strategically would be, how do I do it in a way that maximizes the benefit of the gift? Do I time it earlier in the year for this organization? Do I time it for tax reasons in a high income year for me? That's the strategy. And consistently is just making sure you actually follow through on what you want to do. And here's the thing, I don't care if you do that through a donor advised fund or not. But what I found is when we can automate things as part of a system, we're much more likely to do it consistently, and that means that we had a good strategy. So you might want to open a donor advised fund, whether that's at Charityvest or Fidelity Charitable or Vanguard or some other organization. You may want to open one of these funds and begin funding it. Give it a try. Worst case scenario, you open it, You put funds in there, you get a deduction, you grant them to charity, and if eventually you find you're not using it, you just close it down. But I hope that it'll amplify and streamline and maximize your charitable giving. And that ultimately, from all of that, you experience a profound joy of living generously. And it gives you a sense of purpose and meaning that you work so hard for your money. And that this is one of the things you can do with money that brings you great and lasting joy.